areas of our lives. And today I want to talk on the third message on Goliath must fall. The third message is called Slaying Slump Faith. Slaying Slump Faith. All right, and do you know sometimes in our lives we go through ups and downs. We talk about the first message, facing giants. Second message, we talk about take down Goliath. Third message, slaying slump faith. We cannot deny the fact as human beings, we struggle sometimes in life. Different corner, different journey of our walk with God. We sometimes face trying moment, testing moment in our lives. And some of those moments can cause us to turn back to our former life. Some of those moments can cause us backslide. Some of those moments can cause us just not be whom we are supposed to be what God expects us to be. And I want you to follow along with me, if you may. Canada, let's learn together. Slump faith, slaying slump faith. 1 Samuel 30 verses 1 to 6 says, David and his men reached Ziklag on the third day. Now the Amalekites had raided the Negev and Ziklag. They had attacked Ziklag and burned it, and had taken captive the women and everyone else in it, both young and old. They killed none of them, but carried them off as they went on their way. When David and his men reached Ziklag, they found it destroyed by fire, and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. So David and his men wept aloud until they had no strength left to weep. David's two wives had been captured, Ahinoam of Zethil and Abigail, the widow of Nabal of Carmel. David was greatly distressed because the men were talking about stoning him. Each one was bitter in spirit because of his sons and daughters. But David found strength in the Lord his God. Let's pray. Father, we look to your word this morning. We ask of you to help us with your word so that we may be able to know, understand, break free, and grow in you. Continue to trust, continue to believe, continue to want to be whom you want us to be. We honor you. We praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. It is never too late to get up when you have been knocked down. It is never too late to get up when you have been knocked down. You know, when we look at the series of messages on Goliath must fall, the story of David, we are looking at different stages of his life, different experiences, different journey, part of the journey. Here in 1 Samuel 30 verses 1 to 6 is a story where it was not David's finest hour. We have heard about Bathsheba's incident, the killing of Uriah, but we never look at this area. There are few areas in David's life basically was not his finest hour. David had been hiding from Saul, who wanted to kill him. David became tired, weary, and therefore he decided to flee to the enemy. You know, when you and I go through trying and difficult times in our life, it's not good always to flee to our enemy. I will talk to you why later. Have you ever given up? Have there ever been, you've been in a slum? Most of us, Goliath owns a slum gun. Custom made specially for you and me. It fires not bullets, but sadness. It takes no lives, but smiles. It inflicts not flesh wounds, but faith wound. It caused relationship to be broken. It caused our life to be hopeless. It caused our career to somehow fizzle off. Our excitement about God fizzle off. Our faith to give up. We feel as though we are on our last stand. It's either you come through now, God, or forget it. I'm not going to follow you anymore. Do you feel like that in your last stand like David? I want to share with you 4 things very quickly. Three things about David. Then I throw a question at the 4th thing. Then we go through very quickly as we learn. 1, David wore out. I did not use the word worn. I used the word war. David wore out. You see, Saul had been getting the best of David, leaving him sleepless in caves, lurking behind trees. 600 soldiers depend on David for leadership and provision. These 600 men have wives and children, and David himself too have wives and children, running from a crazy king, hiding in hills, leading a ragtag group of soldiers, feeding more than 1,000 different mouths. The faith downturn and disappointment finds its mark in David's life. David's reasons that Saul will kill him one day. So the best thing to do for David is to go to the camp of the enemy so that Saul will stop searching for him. He thought, since Saul is constantly looking for me, let me join the enemy. Let me give myself up to the enemy. Instead of dying, at least I live. So that Saul will not chase me. Look at 1 Samuel 27 verse 1. But David thought to himself, one of these days I will be destroyed by the hand of Saul. The best thing I can do is to escape to the land of the Philistines. Then Saul will give up searching for me anywhere in Israel, and I will split out of his hand. No hope, and most of all, no God. David focuses on Saul, not on God. He hangs Saul's poster all over his tent. And he replaced the voice and the messages of Saul that I will kill you, I will kill you, I will destroy you. David immerses himself in his fear until his fear took over. What was the fear? The voice of Saul, I will destroy you. I will destroy you. I will destroy you. How many of you agree with me? If you repeat negative things over your mind over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, it will rob you of hope. And that's what David did. Over and over and over and over again. I cannot, impossible. You know, David should have known better. On brighter days, in healthier moments, David modeled heaven's therapy for the tough days. The first time when he faced the Philistine in the wilderness, the Bible tells us David inquired of the Lord. When David felt small against Goliath, David inquired of the Lord. When he was attacked by the Amalekites, David inquired of the Lord. Puzzled about what to do after the death of Saul, David inquired of the Lord. When crowned as a king and pursued by the Philistine, David inquired of the Lord. David defeated them, yet they mounted another attack. So David inquired of the Lord. But not here. Not here. All through his life, he inquired of the Lord. But when King Saul said, I will kill you, he did not inquire of the Lord. David kept God's number on speed dial. Here he was confused. David talked to God challenged. He talked to God afraid. He talked to God most of the time, but not this time. On this occasion, David talks to himself. He never talked to God. He doesn't even seek the counsel of his advisors. When Saul first lashed out, David turned to Samuel. As the attack continued, David turned to Samuel. As the attack continued, David asked Jonathan for advice. When weak and breathless, the Bible says he took refuge among the priests of Nob. But in this case, in 1 Samuel 30, verses 1 to 6, David consulted David. Poor choice. David had forgotten that God led him. David had forgotten in the wave of weariness, David should consult God again as he used to do. But now, at this time, in his weariness, in his hopelessness, David hits the slump button and he gave up. He gave up. He never consulted God. You never see in all these verses, David consulted God. The same thing is speak to you and I, church. I can tell you in my life journey, I believe in all of us, it is never a smooth sail all the way. There are mountains that we need to climb. There are ravines that we need to go down to. There are rivers that we need to cross. There are fields that are full of thorns that we need to walk across. There are people whom we love that turn against us. There are businesses that we've been thriving, but we failed. So happening, failed. We have friends whom we love, we care for, we brought them to the Lord, they turn against us. David, in times such as this, he did not consult God. David wore out. What about you and I in our lives? Huh? Oh, I always consult God. What about now? What about now? Once David gives up, he gets out. I'll bring you through the whole story in a while, don't worry. Number 2, David got out. The Bible said David lives. Saul calls off the hunt. David defects into the hands of the enemy. He leads his men into the land of idols and false gods and pitches his tent in Goliath's backyard. He flops down in a pasture land of Satan himself. You know, he fought the Philistines. He won the war for King Saul, isn't it? But now he went back to them. He said, now let me join you. You know, church, we have slain giants in our life before. We have overcome habits in our life before. Anger in our life before. Bondages in our life before. But why now go back? Are you with me or not? Why go back? I used to live like that. I used to behave like that. My attitude used to be like that. My character used to be like that. I've changed. But just because of so and so, just because of an incident, just because of a misunderstanding, just because of a hurt, just because of bankruptcy, just because my husband did not treat me well, or my wife did not treat me well, or my parents or my children did not treat me well, just because everything seems to be not in my favor. David went back to the land of the Philistines. How many of you know the story of David goes like this? Initially, David feels relief. Saul gave up the chase. Do you know that? I just saw it there, when he went to the land of the Philistine and back the Philistine, Saul gave up the chase on David's life. And David's men can sleep with both eyes closed. Last time they cannot. They watch out just in case Saul come and catch them. Children can attend their learning classes. Wives, first time in their life, can unpack the cloth packs. Hiding out with the enemy brings temporary relief, doesn't it? Always. You go back to your former lifestyle. You do the former thing that you're not supposed to do. And do you know, it gives you a temporary relief. You go back to drinking. You go back to the pub just to drown yourself. It gives you a temporary relief, but it is not a cure. Hello. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about myself, okay? Smile. Hiding out with the enemy brings temporary relief, doesn't it always? Stop resisting alcohol, gambling addiction, and you will laugh for a while. Move out of your marriage and you will relax for a time. Indulge in pornography and different kind of addiction. You will be entertained for a season. But soon, guilt, loneliness, heartbreaks rushes in. Proverbs 14:12 says, There is a way that seems or look or appears right to a man, but it ends in the way of death. Sometimes we say, what's wrong? What's wrong to get drunk? What's wrong to get into addiction? What's wrong to go and smoke? What's wrong to be unfaithful? What's wrong to go and do this and do? What's wrong to go back to my old lifestyle? Yeah, it's for a while, but sooner or later, guilt will take hold of you and I. Don't for once say, I want to go back. I want to go back to my past. I want to go to my past life. He said there is a way that seems right to a man, but the end is that it is death. It brings no hope. It brings no satisfaction. It's only a temporary relief. David wore out, so he got out. And finally, he sold out. He sold out. David strikes a deal with Achish, the king of Gath, that if the king would give David a city to dwell in, David would become, what they say? His slave. Come on. He defeated the Philistine. Why go back to the Philistine with another king, the name Achish? And says, if you protect me, give me a land and a dwelling for my people, I will be a slave. Don't be a slave to nicotine. Don't be a slave to alcohol. Don't be a slave to gambling. Don't be a slave to pornography. Don't be a slave to anger. David said, I will be your slave. 1 Samuel 27 verse 5. Then David said to Achish, if I have found favor in your eyes, let a place be assigned to me in one of the country towns, that I may live there. Why should your servant live in a royal city with you? He called himself a servant. I'm a servant to you. Note this. David's self-assigned title, the servant of the enemy king. The once proud son of Israel, the conqueror of Goliath, lifts a toast to the foe of his family. Achish became the deal. He grants David a village by the name Ziklag and asks only that David turn against his own people, means Achish's own people, and kill them. And you know what David did? He became his slave. He became his servant. He became his running dog. Chinese say 狗走狗啊. Running dog. Do everything that the king say. And the king is smart. He used a Hebrew and the Hebrews people to kill his own people. So that they will not know it's me. I kill my own people, but I use Hebrew people to kill my own people. He became a slave. You know, when I was looking at this, it said, David, what a slum position you were in. David actually raided the enemy of the Hebrews. Let's look at 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel 27, verses 8 and 9. Now David and his men went up and raided the Geshurites, the Gerzites and the Amalekites. From ancient times, these people had lived in the land existing to Shur and Egypt. Whenever David attacked an area, he did not leave a man, a woman alive, but took sheep and cattle and donkeys and camel and clothes. Then he returned to Achish. Wow. Never in David's life he took and killed everyone. When he became a slave to Achish, he killed everyone in the town. You know, I look at it and say, God, what is this, man? You know what is Gath? You know what is the place called Gath? He said that Achish, the king of Gath. You know what's Gath? This morning I came to church, you know, I did a bit of reading. Gath, listen, tell you about Gath. Gath is one of the capital cities of the ancient Philistia. The inhabitants of Gath were referred to as the Gittites. Because the Hebrew term for Gath, G-A-T, for them meant wine press. Wine press. Note this, vineyards and wine presses were widespread throughout the whole ancient Canaan land. The primary biblical reference, however, was that Gath of the Philistine is a place of focus here. Why? It was wine press. What the wine press talk about? Addiction. What did it talk about? Drunkenness. Are you with me or not? When David joined the king of Achish, the king of Gath, he was giving himself to addiction. He was giving himself to the control of the king. He was giving himself to the giant that once upon a time they were free from. He went back. Why not the king of somewhere? Why king of Gath? Gath means wine press, drunkenness, addiction, bondages, control. Hello? Are there things that are controlling our lives? Are there things that we need to get out from? We need to be free from? Huh? Hello? Gath is not just alone. In the province of Gath, there are 4 more cities that represent wine presses. There's Ashdod, there's Ascalon, there's Gaza, and Ekron. Have you ever wondered why Samson always go to Gaza? Not just to find a wife, is to get drunk. He cannot do it back home. He has to go to Gaza to get drunk. Have you ever asked why all these 4 countries are in the provinces of Gath? Gath is the capital city. Do you know in the history of the Middle East, Gath and Ekron mark the inland border of Philistia, while Ashdod, Ascalon, and Gaza are situated at the borderline of the Sea of Mediterranean. It simply says, as long as you step into the province in the area, in Philistia, everything is about bondages. Everything is about control. Everything is about addiction. everything is about destruction. Are you with me or not? When God told Joshua, he said, you go in and take the land, he said, destroy everyone. Joshua did not. When they go in there, he said, you must conquer. But some of them did not conquer. They dwell, they enjoy the land. And let what is left behind. David enjoyed the land now. Hello? Am I speaking facts to y'all? Hello? Not David's finest hour. He lies to the Philistine king and covers up his deceit and bloodshed. He lied to the king. He said, I killed. He said he killed everybody, but he lied to the king. I only took the camel back for you. I destroyed the country. He continues this duplicity for 16 months. Note that from this season of David's life, this season in David's life, no psalms exist. He never wrote a psalm. He never sang a song. His harp hangs silent. And music and worship in David's life in this 16 months went mute and deaf. Church, listen for a while. Addiction, bondages, corruption, evil, sin will rob you of the joy of the Lord. You and I will not be able to be freely to worship God. You and I will not be able to walk in liberty as you used to be when you give yourself back to these lives in the past that is not good. I don't know what you and I are struggling with. Slay slump faith. Don't let it go down. Don't let it go down. For those of you who works in KL, you hardly come back, and you come back once in a blue moon. Watch your life. It's very difficult. Listen for a while. The Bible tells us in the book of Proverbs and Psalms, it's very difficult once a person tasted the goodness of God. Leave the Lord will come back easily. Are you with me, church? Are you with me? Are you with me? When the Philistines attacked King Saul, you know what they did? They did not want David in the battle. Can you imagine? David was a servant. David's 600 men and family were their servants, the king's servant. But when they attacked King Saul, they didn't want David. You know why? Because they can't trust him. If he can do this to me and to his own man, what do you think? When I fight King Saul, he will set King Saul to kill me. Can you imagine? The king doesn't even trust him. He and his men are sent home. David leads the men back to Ziklag and finds the village burned to the ground. Why? Because the Amalekites had destroyed and kidnapped all the wives, sons and daughters. And when David and his men see the devastation, they wept and wept and wept and wept. And David's men became angry. And they decided to stone David. Church, listen for a while. I'm also speaking to myself. If we allow little foxes to eat up certain areas, certain part of our lives and our commitment, our integrity, our prayer life, our reading of the word, our faithfulness, our service, our attitude, our character, our lifestyle, when you allow little foxes to eat us out, sooner or later there's nothing left of us. Are you with me? David wanted a peaceful place to stay to avoid Saul. He got it. But for 16 months, he has no joy. 16 months, he has no God. For 16 months, he never sang another song. For 16 months, he stopped in whom he was supposed to be. And you know what? The king told him, go back to your land. We don't need you to come. And when he went home, he found his security was not really security. It was burned down. Don't think for once beer, liquor will last for eternity. Don't think for once cheating, you will not be found out. Don't think for once you indulge in pornography, it will not kill you. It will not sap and suck the life out of you. Don't think for once if you get involved in drugs and certain addiction in life that it will not hold you in bondage and captivity. Don't think for once if I behave like that just for a while. Do you know peribahasa Malaysia say sedikit nanti jadi bukit, lama-lama jadi bukit. Betul kan? Betul kan? Betul kan? Yeah. And do you know sin, addiction, bondages are like gula. Di mana ada gula, di sana ada semut. Why go for gula that is not good for your health and not go for honey that is good for your health? Hello? If you enjoy God, if you know God, if you experience God, you have experienced honey. And He is your joy. Why? Why sacrifice it? Why compromise it? Why give it up? For things like sugar. Oh, Pastor, you don't understand. A lot of people go there. Okay, all my friends are like that. No problem, what? Yeah, you don't know only. You don't know only. David wore out, got out, sold out. Now I'll throw you a question. Number 4. What about you? What about you? Slumps. The making of bad decisions. Slumps. The incubator of wrong turns. Slumps, the assembly line of regretful moves. How we handle our tough times stays with us for a long time. Don't say, never mind, just one time only. Never mind, one time only. But do you know, if you say, I will be faithful, I will be committed to the end, it will last you a long, long time. How do you handle yours? When hope is squeezed and joy is nothing but the name of someone down the road. When you're tired of trying, tired of forgiving, tired of hard weeks, of hard-headed people, how do you manage your dark days? When you're tired of workers that are insubmissive, incooperative, workers that just refuse to do their work, how do you handle your hard day? If you're a boss that shout down at you and shout at you all the time, always discourage you, always scold you, how do you handle those dark days? When your sales is not going the way it's supposed to go and you're struggling financially, how do you handle your dark days? When your friend celebrates his birthday, his 40th birthday or 50th birthday, and he invited you to go, and they said, come on, one glass, never mind wine. He said, even the Bible talks about wine, but don't get drunk on it. How do you handle that? Someone hurt you, and then someone's friend hurt you, and then someone's friend hurts you. How do you handle your dark day? Will a bottle of drug or beer help? Will an hour at a bar, a day at a spa, a week at the Highlands? Many options for treatment, so many in fact. We assume they re-energize the sad life. But do they? Do they re-energize our sad life? No one denies that they help for a while, but over the long haul, they numb the pain, but do they remove the pain? They help you to forget it for a while. Will it be forgotten for eternity? Like David, we crash into Gath, only to find that Gath has no solution. David failed to pray, but you and I should do the opposite. Be quick to pray. Stop talking to yourself. Talk to Christ, who invites. You know, one of my favorite verses in the Bible is in Matthew 11:28. He said this, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Hallelujah. You know, in the many occasions in my life when I go through dark days, trying times, I just stop my work in office for a while and just close my eyes and say, God, you know what? I really do need you. I really do need you at this moment. I got up this morning, I said, God, I really do need you at this moment. Do you? God, who is never downcast, never tired of your down days. God, who is ever faithful, never abandon you and I. Why can't we go to Him? Why not we go to Him? David neglected good advice, learned from his mistake. But do you know what? He lost 16 months of a life that God wanted him to have. He lost 16 months. He neglected advice. He doesn't listen to advice. We love to hear how people bounce back, isn't it? Like I always said this, Swindle always said this, it's never too late to do what is right. Never. How do we know when we go through dark day, we can't see what is ahead? Correct? Not? When it's dark, we can't see what is ahead. Don't waste a huge portion of your life by getting acquaintances with giants. Just because we thought that we have slain Goliath, we have slain the 4 other cousins, there's no more giants. Let me close with this. There was a story told of a woman by the name Florence Chadwick. I don't know whether you heard of her, maybe you did. In 1952, she attempted to swim the chilly ocean waters between Catalina Island and California shore. She swam through foggy weather, choppy seas for 15 hours. Her muscles began to cramp. Her resolve weakened. She begged to be taken out of the water, but her mother, riding in a boat alongside, urged her not to give up. She kept trying, but grew exhausted and stopped swimming. Aides lifted her out of the water and into the boat. They paddled a few more minutes. The mist broke. She discovered that the shore was just less than a kilometer away. All I could see was the fog, she explained at a news conference. I think if I could just have seen the shore, I would have made it. Sometime in our life, we say this, if only I can see Jesus in my darkness, I will make it. If only I can see light in the midst of the gloominess of my situation, the hopelessness of my situation, I think I will get out. When Elijah had victory over the prophet of Baal, killed them, Jezebel, the queen, sent a messenger to Elijah and say, if tomorrow at this time I will not kill you and have your head, I will not be the queen. He ran for his life. He was frightened. He had a victory. God showed his faithfulness, but he ran for his life. He was hiding, resting. He went to the cave. He was crying and said, God, where are you? Where are you in my deepest, most difficult, trying time? The wind, he ran out. He thought it was God. God spoke to him, but there was wind. He thought it was God. God said no. The lightning came, he thought it was God. The thunder came, he thought it was God. No. Church, listen. How did he hear God? The still small voice. God never left our life at a difficult time of our life. He's still within. If only we are able to just quiet down and look to the Lord, you and I, probably most of the time, will get out of our situation victoriously. If David were to just say, God, I've been running, I've been hiding, I just didn't learn to commit to you, I will not give myself to the enemy, he would have had victory in his life. In that season of his life. Let's close our eyes just for a while, shall we? Musicians, will you come? Yes, God. What are you facing in life? What giant, what Goliath is there standing in front of you? Don't play with Goliath. Goliath's intention is always to kill, to destroy. Don't run to the enemy's camp and just say, let me flirt with it. Let me play with it for a while. But say, God, let me run to you. As the deer that have been hunted by the hunters, after a season, the deer got tired, weary, thirsty. And the deer was panting away and looking for a sip of water. The Bible tells me in Psalms 42, verses 1 and 2 says, as the deer pants for the water brooks, so pants my soul for you, O God. Verse 2, my soul thirsts for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? My tears, verse 3, have been my food day and night, while they continually said to me, where is your God? Don't let the devil say to you, you are just a small boy. Don't let the devil say to you, Goliath said to you, you cannot. Don't let your circumstances and situations say to you, the darkness, the situation of your life is hopeless, run to the Lord. Run to the Lord, because He is your strength. He is my fortress. He is more than a conqueror. You and I are never made by God, created by God to be a victim, but we were made and created to be a victor, because He lives in every one of us. And as you sing a song,